A bipartisan House delegation just got back from Taiwan. Our next guest was there, part of that delegation that visited the island of Taiwan.
And joining us now to discuss is New York Congresswoman and member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Claudia Tenney. Welcome back to Wake Up America. Congresswoman, you've been focused on this for a while. What did you learn from your trip to Taiwan?
Well, it was a fascinating trip. It was my second trip. I had been there in 2018 when there was a little less tension coming from the Chinese Communist Party. Of course, the minute we returned to Washington, my staff received a criticizing, harsh letter from the Chinese embassy condemning our trip. But this trip is really important because Taiwan is really important to the United States. Something like 67% or more of the most important semiconductors are produced in Taiwan. They're our 8th or 9th largest trading partner. And interesting, huge exports coming from the United States in agriculture go to Taiwan, which is really important as I come from an agricultural district. And that's an important exchange. They're a huge trading partner, very important, vibrant democracy where their leaders are elected as a kind of quasi part of China. And I know this is a confusing issue for a lot of people, but although they call themselves the Republic of China, they really do have a unique democracy in the midst of China's aggression all around that region of the world,
right.
Which is why we also visited South Korea, and we visited Mongolia, of all the places, a country sandwiched between authoritarian Russia and authoritarian China. So it was a really interesting trip, and we had a wonderful greeting and a welcoming from President Tsai and the foreign minister and others. It was really tremendous, and it was great to be back again to see just what a great example Taiwan is and how under siege they are by the People's Republic of China.
Well, I'm glad that some Republican members from the House are finally visiting. I wish that Nancy Pelosi made her visit, 5 weeks ago more bipartisan. I think that would have had an even bigger effect, but she made it about herself.
Exactly.
Are they preparing for war there in Taiwan?
Well, look, China's hostile, and there's a lot of discussions about hostility coming from China. Obviously, they threatened to shoot down Nancy Pelosi's plane, and they're making a lot of gestures. And remember, we have the Taiwan Relations Act, which actually authorizes the United States to provide defensive strength and defensive weapons to Taiwan in the event that China continues to show aggression towards Taiwan. They've been doing military exercises in the Strait and in that region. They've been projecting a lot of hostility toward members of Congress, as we received, as well as Speaker Pelosi. But this is a really important part of the world where we see vibrancy and democracy, which we need to protect and to allow it to flourish in a part of the country, in a part of the world where you're seeing authoritarianism. So Taiwan is a fascinating place, very modern. The people really appreciate the fact that they are able to elect their leaders. And so, again, in a sea of authoritarianism, hostility, we see the genocide against the Uyghurs in China. You see the lockdowns, the abuse of the people in China. And you see this oasis out there in the middle of the sea, which is why Taiwan is so important.
Yeah, Congresswoman, there was a lot of speculation over the last 12, 15 hours. Former President Trump is in D.C. A lot of people wondering why he hasn't mentioned anything. Do you know anything about that?
I actually don't, but I'm wondering if maybe he's heading to London to go participate with the Queen's funeral and that type of situation. I really don't know.
Yeah, there's been a lot of speculation about this. Here we are 5 weeks removed from the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Is he meeting with attorneys about the special master? I read a report that said that he's going to Walter Reed to get a COVID booster because he's afraid of being poisoned or something like that. But he's only been back in D.C. once since leaving office, and the speculation is rampant. Nobody seems to know why the 45th president is in our nation's capital right now. Curious.
Yeah, I think the president likes the mystery, but I think everyone is obsessed right now with this criminalization of civil behavior. That's something authoritarian regimes like China do. They use propaganda, which is what we're seeing a lot. We see this the relentless assault on President Trump and everything Trump and any Trump supporter. I find it really disturbing when you see the way. I mean, look at just even flying into Taiwan, just the lockdowns and the kind of the lack of freedom that you feel sometimes, especially dealing with COVID. I mean, everything was masked in China, and flying back into the United States, you still get that sense of freedom, even though Taiwan compared to the People's Republic of China and the mainland, is a democracy, you feel that oppression. And I feel like it really concerns me, this authoritarianism and, the criminalization of civil behavior by Merrick Garland, our FBI, the Justice Department. It really concerns me.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. September is historically the worst performing month for the stock market, so you better be ready for it. The Fed continues to aggressively raise rates, and JP Morgan is forecasting another mega rate hike September the 21st. Is that why Jamie Dimon said an economic hurricane is coming our way? Well, gold and silver have remained remarkably stable despite the Fed aggressively raising rates today. The Patriot Gold Group has a special incentive for Newsmax viewers. Huge! Now precious metals investors can enjoy the no-fee-for-life gold and silver IRA on qualifying rollovers, or enjoy free, discreet, insured shipping on all direct gold and silver purchases. Here's the number, 800-356-4470. Call 800-356-4470 today.